A father stands in front of a building in Munich, Germany. He's holding his 7-year-old son's hand. The boy's bald from radiation, thin from chemotherapy, tired from the 14-hour journey. But he's smiling because Daddy promised that this is where he gets better. The father looks at the address on his phone, looks at the building, looks back at his phone. The numbers match, but the sign on the door says Tierarzt Praxis. He doesn't speak German. He opens the door anyway. Inside, a woman in scrubs looks up from behind a counter. There's a cat in a carrier on the desk, a dog barking somewhere in the back. The father shows her his phone, the website, the doctor's face. She shakes her head, says something in German. He doesn't understand. She pulls out her phone, types into a translation app, shows him the screen. This is an animal hospital. There is no doctor here. I'm sorry. The father stares at the words. His son tugs a sleeve. Daddy, is this where I get my new medicine? The father can't answer, can't breathe, can't do anything but stand there, holding his dying son's hand, realizing that everything he sold, everything he sacrificed, everything he believed was a lie. Before I tell you how Stellan Rask ended up in that doorway, before I tell you what happened to his son, his marriage, and everything he ever built, I need you to understand something. He wasn't stupid. He wasn't naive. He was a father watching his child die, and that changes everything. This channel shares real-style stories meant to raise awareness about the different scam tactics scammers use. If that's something you care about, subscribing helps support the work and keeps these stories going. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. Stellan Rask was not the kind of man who believed in miracles. He was an engineer, built things with his hands, solved problems with logic. When something broke, he fixed it. When something seemed impossible, he found a way. That's who he was. That's who he'd always been. He met his wife Britt when they were both 25. She was a kindergarten teacher, soft where he was hard, patient where he was driven. They balanced each other. Mikael came when they were 33. A surprise, a gift, the center of everything. Stellan built a business, a small construction company. 12 employees, good contracts. They bought a house in the suburbs, nothing fancy but theirs. A backyard where Mikael could play. A swing set Stellan built himself one weekend while Mikael handed him screws and asked why about everything. Why do we need screws, Daddy? To hold things together. Why do things need to be held together? Because otherwise they fall apart. Why do things fall apart? Stellan had laughed, kissed his son's forehead. You asked too many questions, buddy. Why? Life was good. Not perfect, but good. The headaches started when Mikael was 6. Growing pains, the pediatrician said. Then came the vomiting, the balance problems, the way Mikael would sometimes stare at nothing, like he was listening to something no one else could hear. Britt took him for more tests. Stellan was at a job site when his phone rang. He still remembers where he was standing, the smell of sawdust, the sound of power tools, the exact spot where his life split into before and after. Mr. Rask, we need to come in, today. It's about Mikael. He drove 90 miles per hour, ran 2 red lights, didn't care. The tumor was the size of a golf ball, nestled in the brainstem, the worst possible location, wrapped around structures that controlled breathing, heartbeat, consciousness. Inoperable. The oncologist was kind, practiced, had clearly delivered this news before. We can try radiation to slow the growth, chemotherapy to buy time, but I have to be honest with you, the median survival for this type of tumor is 9 to 12 months. Some children live longer. He didn't finish the sentence. Britt was crying. Quiet, steady tears. Stellan wasn't crying. He was doing math. 9 to 12 months. That was September to next summer. His son might not see his 8th birthday. What about surgery? He asked. The location makes surgery impossible without causing... There has to be something. Clinical trials, experimental procedures, something. The oncologist paused. There are trials. I can refer you to some. But I want you to understand, these are long shots. Most don't show significant results, and many are not accepting new patients at Mikael's stage. Stellan nodded. He didn't hear the word long shots. He heard, there are trials. That was enough. The first 3 months, Stellan played by the rules. Mikael did radiation, lost his hair, lost weight, got sicker before he got better, then got sicker again. Stellan researched every trial in the country, applied to 7, got rejected from 7. Not accepting new patients, doesn't meet inclusion criteria, disease too advanced. Each rejection was a door slamming in his face. Britt was accepting the reality, meeting with hospice counselors, talking about quality time and making memories. Stellan couldn't hear it. Every time she mentioned hospice, he felt like she was surrendering, like she was giving up on their son. They stopped talking about it. Then they stopped talking about most things. The email arrived at 2:47 a.m. Stellan was in his home office, deep in a Google rabbit hole. Alternative treatments, overseas clinics, anything. He'd been awake for 32 hours. The subject line stopped him cold. New hope for pediatric brain tumors, Dr. Werner Hoffmann, Munich. He clicked. The website was professional, clean. A German clinic specializing in innovative immunotherapy protocols for childhood cancers. Photos of a gleaming facility, smiling children, testimonials from parents. They told us our daughter had 3 months. After Dr. Hoffmann's treatment, she's been in remission for 2 years. When everyone gave up on our son, Dr. Hoffmann gave us hope, and that hope became a miracle. Stellan's heart was pounding. He read every page, 3 times. The treatment used something called targeted neural immunotherapy. The website explained it was too advanced for most hospitals, not approved by the FDA, but legal in Germany, where medical regulations are different. The cost, $250,000, not covered by insurance. There was a contact form. Stellan filled it out. Name, son's diagnosis, email, phone number. He hit send at 3:15 a.m. He got a response at 3:22 a.m., 7 minutes, at 3 a.m. He should have noticed that. He didn't. The response came from someone named Dr. Werner Hoffmann himself. Stellan sat in his office, heart pounding, reading every word. Dr. Hoffmann expressed sympathy, said he understood the desperation, asked for more details about Mikael's case, wanted to review medical records personally. Stellan typed back immediately. He explained that Mikael was 7 years old, diagnosed with a brainstem glioma 3 months ago, told it was inoperable, asked if there was any hope at all. The response came within minutes. Dr. Hoffmann replied that he had treated similar cases before, that the brainstem location was exactly what their therapy targeted, that he was cautiously optimistic. He wanted to schedule a video consultation. Stellan didn't tell Britt yet. He wanted to be sure first. The video call happened on a Saturday afternoon. Stellan closed his office door, told Britt he was working on estimates. The lie came easily. Too easily. Dr. Hoffmann appeared on screen. Late 50s, gray beard, kind eyes, white coat, bookshelf full of medical texts behind him, certificates on the wall, though Stellan couldn't read them at this resolution. His English was accented but clear. Mr. Rask, thank you for reaching out. I've reviewed Mikael's file thoroughly. Stellan's hands were sweating. And I believe we can help him. The tumor's position is challenging, yes, but our immunotherapy works differently than traditional approaches. We don't attack the tumor directly. We train the body's immune system to recognize and destroy the cancer cells from within. The doctors here say it's inoperable. Dr. Hoffmann smiled, patient, understanding. American oncology is excellent for many things, but it's also conservative. They fear liability. They fear trying something new. In Germany, we have more freedom to innovate. What's the success rate? For cases like Mikael's, we see significant tumor reduction in approximately 70% of patients, complete remission in about 40%. 70%, 40%. Those numbers hit Stellan like adrenaline. His American doctors had given him 0%. What do I need to do? The requirements were straightforward. $250,000 for the full treatment course, payable in advance. A 6-week stay in Munich, all travel costs separate. Dr. Hoffmann apologized for the cost, explained that the treatment wasn't covered by German health insurance either. They were a private clinic. Cutting-edge research required private funding. He sent a detailed treatment plan, a contract, bank information for the wire transfer. Everything looked official, professional, real. Stellan stared at the number. $250,000. They had maybe $40,000 in savings. The house was worth $380,000, but they still owed $220,000 on the mortgage. His business was valued at around $150,000, but selling it would take time. He started doing the math. That night, he told Britt. She listened, read the website, looked at the testimonials. Then she asked a question Stellan didn't want to answer. Have you verified any of this? Called other patients? Checked his credentials? The website has testimonials, real families. Have you talked to them? Not yet, but Stellan, this is $250,000 for a treatment that American doctors have never heard of at a clinic overseas. Don't you think we should verify? Verify what? He didn't mean to yell, but he couldn't stop. Verify that our son is dying? Verify that the doctors here have given up? Verify that every door has been slammed in my face for 3 months. Britt was quiet. This is our only chance, he said, softer now. Maybe our last chance. And I'm not going to let it slip away because I was too careful, too slow, too rational. Being rational isn't a flaw. It is when your son is dying. She looked at him for a long moment. I think we should get a second opinion. Talk to Mikael's oncologist about this treatment. See what he says. He'll say no. He'll say it's not approved, not proven. He'll tell us to accept reality. Maybe that's because I'm not accepting reality, not this reality, not for Mikael. Britt didn't argue anymore, but something shifted in her eyes that night. He was too focused on saving his son to notice. Stellan didn't consult the oncologist. He didn't verify the testimonials. He didn't search for reviews or check medical boards. He did what desperate people do. He moved. He put the house on the market, listed at $390,000, sold in 2 weeks for $365,000. After paying off the mortgage, he had $145,000. He sold his business, found a buyer willing to take it over immediately, got $120,000 less than it was worth because he couldn't wait for a better offer. That gave him another $90,000. He emptied the college fund. $15,000. He borrowed $20,000 from his brother Conrad, $10,000 from Britt's parents, $5,000 from a line of credit, $285,000 total. Enough for the treatment, flights, a few weeks of expenses, everything. They had. Everything they'd built, gone in 2 weeks of wire transfers and signatures. The night before the wire transfer, Britt's parents came over. Her father, Henrik, sat across from Stellan at the kitchen table. You're sure about this? You've checked everything? I'm sure, because this is everything you have. Everything your family has. If something goes wrong, it won't. Henrik looked at his daughter. She was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, face unreadable. Britt, what do you think? She was quiet for a moment. I think Stellan has already decided, and I think arguing with him won't change anything. It wasn't support, but it wasn't opposition either. Stellan took it as permission. The wire transfer went through on a Tuesday, $250,000, to an account at a German bank. Stellan received a confirmation email within an hour. Dr. Hoffman thanked him, said Mikael's room would be ready, said the treatment team was excited to meet them. He included flight recommendations, a list of items to bring, a German phrase book. Everything felt real. Everything felt like hope. The morning of the flight, Mikael was too excited to eat breakfast. He sat at the kitchen table, pushing scrambled eggs around his plate, asking questions faster than Stellan could answer. Daddy, will the doctor have a German accent? Probably, buddy. Will he wear a white coat like Dr. Morrison? I think so. Can you teach me to say thank you in German? I googled it on my phone. Danke. It means thank you. Danke. Mikael repeated seriously, practicing the word. Danke, danke, danke. That's perfect, buddy. I'll say it to the doctor when he makes me better. Stellan couldn't speak. He just kissed his son's forehead and finished packing. The night before they left, Stellan sat with Mikael. His son was in bed, thinner than he should be, paler, but still Mikael. Still the boy who loved dinosaurs and building blocks and asking why about everything. Daddy, is Germany far? Pretty far. We have to fly on a plane. Will it hurt the new medicine? Stellan's chest tightened. I don't know. Maybe a little. But it's going to make you better. That's the important thing. And then I can go back to school?
Yeah, buddy, then you can go back to school. Mikael smiled. I miss my friends. I know, they miss you too. Daddy, yeah, I'm glad you found the doctor. Mommy was sad before. Now she won't be sad. Stellan didn't have words. He just held his son and promised himself, silently, that this would work. It had to work. He'd given everything. The flight was 14 hours. Mikael slept most of it. The medication made him drowsy. Stellan was grateful for that. He spent the flight reading and rereading the treatment plan, memorizing the protocol, imagining the moment the doctors told him Mikael was going to be okay. He'd already written the email in his head, the one he'd send to everyone who doubted him, to the oncologist who said inoperable, to his brother who thought he was crazy, to Britt who looked at him with those uncertain eyes. He'd write, "They were wrong. We did it. Mikael is going to live." The plane landed at 6 a.m. Munich time. They collected their bags, went through customs, found a taxi. Stellan showed the driver the address, Friedrichstrasse 47. The driver nodded, said something in German, started driving. The city was beautiful. Old buildings, clean streets, a language Stellan didn't understand floating around him like music. He held Mikael's hand. The boy was awake now, looking out the window with curious eyes. Is this where the doctor lives? This is where his clinic is, where you'll get your treatment. It looks different. Different from home? Different from the hospital. Stellan smiled. That's because it's a special kind of hospital. The best kind. Mikael nodded seriously. Danke, he practiced quietly. Danke. The taxi turned onto Friedrichstrasse. Numbers on buildings. 31, 35, 41, 45, 47. The taxi stopped. Stellan paid, helped Mikael out, grabbed their bags. They stood on the sidewalk. And Stellan looked at the building. It was a small storefront, glass windows, a sign above the door, Tier Arts Practice Dr. Mueller. He didn't know what the words meant, but something felt wrong. Through the window, he could see a waiting room, plastic chairs, pet carriers, a woman with a cat. His phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Hoffman. "Welcome to Munich, Mr. Rask. I trust you've arrived safely. Please confirm when you reach the clinic." Stellan stared at the text, looked at the building, looked at the address on his phone. They matched. He walked toward the door, pushed it open, and that's when he saw the counter, the woman in scrubs, the barking coming from the back, the sign on the wall with a cartoon dog and cat. "Daddy, is this the hospital?" The woman at the counter was confused. Stellan showed her his phone, the website, Dr. Hoffman's photo. She tacked on her phone, showed him the translation. "This is an animal hospital. There is no doctor here. I'm sorry." Stellan felt the ground shift beneath him. No, this is the address. This is where... He opened his email, showed her the confirmation, the treatment plan, the wire transfer receipt. She looked at it. Her face changed. Something like pity. She made a phone call, spoke rapid German, waited, spoke more. Then she turned to Stellan. "Police," she said in broken English. "You need police." "I am sorry." Mikael tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, where's the doctor? I want to say Danke." Stellan looked down at his son, at the hope in those tired eyes, and couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stand there, holding his dying son's hand in a country where he knew no one, understanding for the first time that he'd been robbed. Not just of money, of time, of hope, of everything. Let me ask you something. Your child is dying. A doctor offers a cure. He sounds real. The website looks real. The testimonials look real. You have 6 months. Do you spend 2 weeks verifying, or do you wire the money tonight? Be honest. Drop your answer below. Because what happens next to Stellan and Mikael is what happens when you choose wrong. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. The police station was cold. Gray walls, fluorescent lights, officers who spoke English but didn't understand what he was trying to say. Mikael sat in a plastic chair holding a stuffed dinosaur they'd brought from home. A German officer had given him a chocolate bar. He was eating it slowly, not understanding why Daddy was so upset. Stellan showed them everything. The website, the emails, the wire transfer. An officer took notes, asked questions, made calls. After 2 hours, he came back. "Mr. Rask, the bank account you sent money to, it was closed yesterday. Emptied and closed." "What does that mean?"
The money is gone. We will investigate, but
These cases are difficult. The criminals are often in other countries: Russia, Nigeria, Romania. They use German addresses and bank accounts, but they are not in Germany. So you can't get my money back? The officer's silence was answer enough. What about my son? He's sick. He needs treatment. Real treatment. What am I supposed to do? The officer looked at Mikael, then back at Stellan. There is a hospital, Universitätsklinikum Munich. They have an oncology department. Perhaps they can help. I don't have money for a German hospital. I spent everything. Another pause. There are charitable organizations. Perhaps your embassy can assist. Stellan wanted to scream. Instead, he just nodded, took his son's hand, and walked back into a city that felt like a prison. He called Britt from the hotel that night, the cheapest hotel he could find, 40 euros a night, a room that smelled like cigarette smoke and regret. Mikael was asleep on the bed. Stellan sat on the floor, phone pressed to his ear. It was fake, all of it. The doctor, the clinic, everything. Silence on the other end. Britt, did you hear me? I heard you. The money is gone. The account was closed. The police say they can't. I knew. Stellan stopped breathing. What? I knew. Something was wrong. I knew it from the beginning. The testimonials that were too perfect. The doctor who responded too quickly. The way it all seemed designed to tell you exactly what you wanted to hear. Then why didn't you... I tried. You wouldn't listen. You were so desperate to save him that you couldn't see anything else. So you just let me... I couldn't stop you, Stellan. You'd already decided. You'd already sold the house before I could catch my breath. You sold our life, our future, everything. And you did it without asking me, without consulting anyone, because you were so sure, so absolutely sure that you were right. Stellan felt tears coming. I was trying to save him. No, you were trying to save yourself, because living without him was something you couldn't accept. And that's not the same as saving him. That's not fair. None of this is fair. Our son is dying. Nothing about that is fair. Silence. Then Britt said the words that broke him. I'm not coming to Germany. And when you come back, I don't think I can be there. What does that mean? It means I need to think about us, about what comes next, about whether I can forgive you for what you've done. Britt, take care of Mikael. That's what matters now. She paused. An hour later, his phone buzzed. A text from Britt. She wrote that she was sorry, that she loved Mikael more than anything, that she just couldn't be there right now. She asked him to hold her son for her, to tell him mommy loves him, to kiss him goodnight. Stellan read it 7 times. He never responded. He didn't know what to say. The American embassy was no help. They expressed sympathy, gave him a list of resources, suggested he contact family back home for emergency funds. He didn't tell them he'd already borrowed from everyone, that there was no one left to call. The German hospital, Universitätsklinikum Munich, was willing to examine Mikael, but the bill would be substantial, and they made it clear they were a hospital, not a charity. They did give Stellan one piece of information: a social worker, a German-American woman named Frida, who helps stranded Americans navigate the system. Stellan called her. She met him at a cafe the next morning, paid for his coffee, listened to his story without interruption. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. This is not the first time I've heard a story like this. What do you mean? Medical scams, targeting desperate families. It's more common than people realize. The scammers find parents of terminally ill children. They study them, learn what they need to hear. Then they sell them exactly that. How did they find me? Frida shrugged. Online forums, support groups, GoFundMe pages. Sometimes they even monitor hospital social media, looking for stories about sick children, looking for parents who are desperate enough to believe anything. Stellan remembered. He'd posted on 3 forums, shared Mikael's story, asked for treatment recommendations. He thought he was seeking help. He was actually painting a target on his back. Frida helped him find temporary housing, a small apartment in a working-class neighborhood, donated by a church group that helps stranded families. Mikael was getting weaker. The tumor was growing, the symptoms intensifying. Seizures started on the 4th day in Germany. Stellan sat by his son's bed, watching him shake, feeling more helpless than he'd ever felt in his life. The German hospital admitted Mikael for observation. They ran tests, confirmed what Stellan already knew. The tumor was inoperable, terminal. The German oncologist was kind, but direct. We can manage his symptoms, reduce his pain, but the disease will progress. I'm sorry. How long? Weeks, perhaps a month. It's difficult to say. Stellan spent $250,000 and traveled 5,000 miles, and the answer was inoperable, terminal, weeks. The money disappeared faster than he imagined. The hospital bills, even with reduced rates, the daily charges were staggering. The medications, the emergency treatments for Mikael's seizures, the lawyers he consulted about recovering the wire transfer, each one charged by the hour. Each one said the same thing. These cases are nearly impossible to win. The international phone calls, trying to reach anyone who might help. The taxi rides, the food he barely ate, the hotel nights before the church apartment. By the time Mikael was admitted to the hospital for the final time, Stellan had $847. $847. That was what remained of everything they'd built in 15 years. He stopped sleeping, stayed by his son's bed 20 hours a day, watched his son decline, watched the seizures become more frequent, watched the light in those eyes grow dimmer. One night, Mikael woke up. 3 a.m., confused but lucid. "Daddy? I'm here, buddy. Are we going home soon?" Stellan couldn't answer. "I miss Mommy." "I know. She misses you too. Why didn't she come?" Stellan felt his heart crack. She had to stay, to get things ready for when we come home." "Is she mad at us?" "No, buddy. She's not mad. She loves you so much." Mikael was quiet. Then, "Daddy, I don't think the medicine is working." Stellan's tears finally came. "I know, buddy. I know. Am I going to die?" The question hung in the dark. Stellan couldn't lie, couldn't tell the truth, could only hold his son's hand and say the only thing he had left. "I'm going to be right here with you, no matter what. I'm never leaving." Mikael closed his eyes. "Okay, Daddy." He fell back asleep. Stellan didn't. Britt didn't call again. He tried calling her. 3 times, 4, 5. She didn't answer. On the 6th try, her mother picked up. "She can't talk right now. I need to tell her about Mikael. He's getting worse." She knows. She's dealing with this in her own way. Her son is dying, and her husband gambled away their entire future on a fantasy. She's lost everything too. Give her time. She hung up. Stellan threw his phone at the wall. A nurse came to check in on the noise. He apologized, then sat in silence until his son woke up. Mikael died on a Tuesday, 3:47 p.m. He was holding his hand. The room was quiet, except for the machines. Then even the machines went quiet. A German nurse said something soft. A prayer, maybe. Stellan didn't move, didn't cry, didn't do anything but hold his son's cooling hand and stare at a face that would never smile again, never ask why again, never say danke to anyone. The hospital needed the room. They gave him an hour. Then they took Mikael's body to the morgue. Stellan walked into a Munich afternoon. Sun shining, people going about their lives, street vendors selling bratwurst, children laughing in a nearby park. His son was dead. The world kept spinning. He hated it for that. He called the embassy again, explained he needed to transport his son's body home. The cost, $12,000. He had $847 in his account. The embassy officer was sympathetic, offered to connect him with repatriation assistance programs. Most took weeks to process. "Is there a cheaper option?" Stellan asked. There was. Cremation in Germany. $2,100. He could carry the ashes himself. He called Conrad, asked to borrow $2,100.
Conrad was quiet for a long time. "I already gave you $20,000, which you gave to scammers." "I know, and I'll pay you back somehow. But right now I need to bring my son home. What's left of him?" "Stellan, I don't have it. I gave you everything I had. Everything. Then help me find it. Please, I'm begging you." A long pause. "I'll see what I can do." He hung up. Stellan sat in the hospital chapel, prayed for the first time in years. Not to God, to his son. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I tried so hard, and I failed you. I failed you in every possible way." Silence. Then to himself, "I should have listened. I should have verified. I should have been smarter. But I wasn't. And now you're gone, and I can never fix that." Conrad came through. $2,100, scraped together from friends and distant relatives who barely knew Stellan. "Don't thank me," Conrad said on the phone. Just come home. Mom and Dad are worried." "Do they know what happened?" "Everyone knows. It was on the news. American father scammed by a fake German clinic. You're famous, Stellan, just not the way you wanted." He hung up. The cremation happened 3 days later. Stellan wasn't allowed to be present. German regulations. He picked up the urn from a small office, a metal container. Surprisingly light. This was his son now. 7 years of life, of laughter, of "Why, Daddy?" and "Look what I made," and "I love you to the moon and back," reduced to a container he could carry with one hand. The flight home was empty, or felt that way. Stellan sat in a middle seat, urn in his lap, staring at nothing. A flight attendant asked if he was okay. He said yes. She didn't believe him, but she left him alone. No one met him at the airport. He took a taxi to his brother's house. Conrad let him in. Didn't hug him, didn't say much. "You can stay in the guest room until you figure things out." "Thank you." Britt's lawyer called. She's filing. Wants the divorce finalized quickly. Stellan nodded. "And Mom and Dad, they're not ready to talk yet. Maybe in a few weeks." "Okay. I'm sorry about Mikael. He was a good kid." "Yeah, he was." Stellan went to the guest room, put the urn on the nightstand, lay down on the bed, stared at the ceiling, and tried to remember what hope felt like. The website was gone. He checked, the day after he got home. Dr. Wiener Hoffman's clinic. The testimonials. The photos of smiling children. Gone. The domain was available for purchase. $12.99. Someone's life. Someone's child. Someone's $250,000. And the whole thing could be restarted for $12.99. He searched for other victims. Found the forum. A support group. 23 families who had fallen for the same scam. Different names, different amounts, same story. A doctor who didn't exist. A clinic that was never real. Children who died while their parents chased ghosts. One mother had lost $180,000. One father had refinanced twice and was now homeless. One couple had split up, just like him. One post was from a father in Australia, same scam. Different doctor's name, same script. Another was from a mother in Canada, same website layout, different photos. The scammer wasn't targeting Americans. He was targeting parents, anywhere, everywhere. Language didn't matter. Desperation is universal.
The scammer had collected over $4 million and was never caught. One post stood out. A mother named Vera, Portland, Oregon. She wrote, "The worst part isn't the money. The money's gone. We all know that. The worst part is the time. I spent my daughter's last 4 months chasing a cure that didn't exist. I was so focused on saving her that I forgot to be with her. Her last months were airports and hotel rooms and waiting for phone calls. Not home. Not with her friends. Not with her toys. Not with her swing set. I stole her childhood trying to extend it, and I can never get that back." Stellan read it 5 times, then closed his laptop and sat in silence, because that was exactly what he'd done. Mikael's last months were research and phone calls and flights and foreign hospitals. Not home, not with his mother, not with his toys or his swing set. Stellan had tried so hard to give him more time. He'd stolen the time they had. Britt didn't come to the memorial. She sent flowers, white lilies, Mikael's favorite. The service was small. Conrad, a few neighbors, one friend from Stellan's old business. No parents. They weren't ready. No in-laws. They blamed him. 15 people saying goodbye to a 7-year-old who deserved 100. Stellan gave a eulogy. He didn't talk about the cancer. He talked about the way Mikael laughed, the questions he asked, the way he believed his daddy could fix anything. He trusted me completely, and I failed him completely. I wanted to be his hero. Instead, I became this. He couldn't finish. Sat down, stared at the urn, and let the silence speak for him. After the memorial, Stellan drove to their old house. Someone else lived there now. A family. 2 cars in the driveway, kids' toys in the yard. The swing set he built was still there. He sat in his car for an hour, watching strangers live in the life he used to have. A boy about Mikael's age ran across the lawn, laughing, chasing a dog. Healthy, alive. Stellan drove away. Months passed, the divorce finalized. His parents eventually spoke to him again, carefully, briefly. His in-laws never did. He got a job, entry-level, construction labor, working for a company smaller than the one he used to own. He moved into a studio apartment, put the urn on a shelf. Sometimes he talked to it, told Mikael about his day, apologized, again and again. One night, he was scrolling through Facebook. A sponsored post appeared. New hope for pediatric brain tumors. A revolutionary treatment in Switzerland. A different country, a different doctor's name, but the same layout, same stock photos, same testimonials that were too perfect. The same scam, different face. Stellan stared at it. He should report it, flag it, do something. Instead, he clicked, found the contact form, and typed a message. "My son has a brain tumor. Doctors say it's inoperable. Is there anything you can do?" He didn't have a son anymore, but he wanted to see what they'd say. Wanted to know if they'd promise miracles the same way. The response came within 7 minutes, at 2 a.m., just like before. The doctor expressed sympathy, asked for medical records, said he'd seen cases like this before. Many successful outcomes. Word for word, almost the exact same script. He screenshotted everything, then typed back, "How do I know you're real?" The response came immediately. "I understand your skepticism, Mr. Rask. Many families have been hurt by scammers. That's why we encourage video consultations before any payment. We want you to see our facility, meet our team. We have nothing to hide." Stellan typed again. "What's the address of your clinic?" A pause. Then, "We prefer to share that information after an initial consultation for security purposes." Stellan screenshotted that too. Then typed, "My son is already dead. You killed him. Well, someone like you did. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure no other parent falls for this." He hit send. The account blocked him immediately. Stellan reported the website, contacted the FBI's IC3 division, shared everything with the forum of other victims. The website went down a month later, a small victory. But somewhere, he knew, another site was already live. Another Dr. Hoffman, another miracle cure, another parent getting that email at 2:47 a.m. And he couldn't stop them all. A year after Mikael died, Stellan visited the cemetery. There was no body there, just a small headstone next to an empty plot. Mikael Stellan Rask, beloved son, 7 years of light. He brought flowers, sat on the grass, talked. I think about it every day. What I should have done different. The signs I missed. The questions I didn't ask. Pause. Your mom still won't talk to me. I don't blame her. I destroyed everything for a chance that wasn't even real. Pause. But I also think, if I had to do it again, I don't know if I'd change anything. Because you were dying, and I couldn't accept that. I couldn't just watch. He wiped his eyes. Maybe that makes me a fool. Maybe loving you too much was the problem. I don't know. Pause. I just know I'd give anything to hear you ask why one more time. Anything to hear you practice danke in the kitchen. Anything to have you back. He stayed until sunset, then drove home to his empty apartment, where the urn still sat on the shelf, waiting. I don't know how to end this story, because it doesn't really end. Stellan is still alive, still working, still talking to an urn on a shelf. The scammer is still free, still running websites, still promising miracles to desperate parents. Somewhere, right now, a father or mother is getting that email, the one that offers hope, the one that sounds too perfect, the one that promises everything they need to hear, and they're deciding what to do. I can't tell you what the right choice is. I can't promise you'd be smarter. Because the thing about desperation is, it doesn't make you stupid. It makes you willing. Willing to believe. Willing to risk. Willing to sacrifice everything for even a chance. And scammers know that.
They count on it. They weaponize your love against you. If you're watching this and someone you love is sick, and you found a treatment that sounds too good to be true, please take one day, just one. Verify the doctor's credentials through official medical boards. Call the clinic's phone number during business hours. Search for the address on Google Maps. Ask your real doctor about the treatment. Reverse image search the testimonial photos. One day won't change your loved one's prognosis, but moving too fast might destroy everything else. Stories like this are more common than people realize. So if you've been through something similar and feel comfortable sharing, you can leave a comment below or send your story privately to the email in the description. All stories stay anonymous. And if you know a parent who's desperate right now, who's searching for miracles at 2 a.m., maybe share this with them. Not to scare them, just to slow them down. One day of caution, that's all. One day. New scam stories every week. Subscribe to follow along.